And we didn't say, oh, we're so much smarter, let's just go start our own and do it better. That's not how it started. It started because the two of us said we have to save our people, we have to save our team, we have to protect them, and we have to make sure they get paid on Monday. So we took everything that we had and did everything we could, and that gave birth to the first ideas and the first dialogues and the first conversations of what you guys now know as Visalus. Were you guys happy that happened?
Isn't it interesting that a few key decisions at specific moments in time can so dramatically change the course of your life? Can anybody think of a few of those in your own life? A few decisions you made that maybe not even in that moment you knew what was happening, but because of that decision, it radically changed everything that would ever happen to you. Can anybody relate with that?
Woo!
You know, I remember, Nick, when you gave me that first phone call, and the first thing that comes to your mind, guys, is, why is this happening? Have you guys ever had a component, something going on in your life where all of a sudden something happened that you didn't expect, right? Something that you thought was a catastrophe. It couldn't get any worse. And you found yourself sitting in that situation saying, I can't believe this is happening to me right now. Has anybody been in that situation before? And I remember sitting there, and when you're weak and you're vulnerable and life throws you the curveball, all the doubt starts to creep in. And I remember all the conversations of everybody that had told myself and Nick over the 5 years that we were building that business, everybody that told us that we were crazy, everybody that told us that it wouldn't work, everybody that told us we were in one of those things. Anybody have those people out there? And all of a sudden, here we are after 5 years, which 5 years may not sound like a long time, but when you're like 20, that's a quarter of your life. After 5 years of effort, all of a sudden, were those people right? Were the doubters out there and the haters right? But the doubt didn't last long, as Nick said, guys. When you have a group of people following you, and a lot of you in the room can relate to this right now, because you have people following you. With leadership comes responsibility. Would you guys agree with me? And once you step into a leadership role and you paint a picture that other people commit their time, their energy, and their livelihood, it becomes about something that's a lot more than just you and what you need. You have to start doing things for what everybody who's following you needs. Does that make sense? And the best way I can describe this time, Nick, is it's funny the way the world works when you just do things with the right intentions. When you do things for the right reasons, get yourself out of the way, put other people first, and just do things with the right intentions, doors start to open. How many of you guys have had that happen in your own life? And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I remember sitting there when we started creating Visalus out of our own pockets, no money, a failing company, no experience, challenges and obstacles hitting us every single day, and all I could remember was every story that I read in a book, every really successful person I'd ever met, every success story, it always seemed to come through the challenges and through the obstacles. Wouldn't you guys agree that every great story where there's triumph, they have to overcome obstacles along the way? Would you guys agree with me on that?
Yes.
And we developed that belief system. We said, you know what? Every time life throws us a challenge, it's just testing us. It's the world's way of putting the right challenge in front of you at the right time to see if you deserve what's on the other side. And you know what? The greater the challenge you get presented, the greater the reward waiting for you if you just overcome that obstacle. The greater the challenge, the greater the what? Reward. So we went to work. Can't say we had the experience. I think before network marketing, I think you worked at TGI Fridays. And sold suits. That was Nick Sarnacola's story. The only job I'd ever had was a high school pool lifeguard. There's my work resume. So what are the odds of a soup broker and a TGI Fridays server with a lot of flair and a high school pool lifeguard taking a failing company and turning it from ashes into anything? Guys, here's what we figured out. You do things for the right reasons, for the right intentions. The odds don't matter. But one thing we didn't know for sure is we had no idea how to run a company. So it was very important that we found someone that did. And I'm so glad Ryan Blair got introduced to our life at that time, because I don't know what would have happened back then.
The tattoo.
I had just kind of sworn that I would never become a CEO again at that time. I was about 260 pounds at one point in time, and I decided I was going to sell my company, move to the beach, and get sexy, and then retire. And all of a sudden, these two ambitious, intelligent, passionate guys brought a product to me, and I was like, I didn't get my head around that. I think it would be wonderful to work in a company that helped change people's lives from the inside out. I could see myself taking the products, and one of my last investors, in fact, had actually been involved in that network marketing thing that Nick and Blake were trying to now get me involved in. And Nick sat me down one day and he said, who do you know who has ever done network marketing? And I got out my list, and the first person I put was Todd Gergen. Nick's like, well, what kind of network marketing has he done? I said, well, he has $1 billion company. He goes, well, how do you know him? And I go, well, I made him a lot of money in the last company that I just sold. And he goes, well, three-way call him with me. So after Nick got underneath me, next thing you know, and those of you who've read the book, you know I emailed Todd, hey Todd, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods. Todd's here today, somewhere in the back over there, our fourth silent founder. I said, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods, and I want you to look at these two entrepreneurs and this opportunity called Visalus, and I want you to invest in it. Todd gave us $1.5 million to get started in December of 2006. Wow. We spent it by about December 2005. We had spent it all by our second year anniversary in March. He gave us more money, and then we started building. We started learning, actually 6 years ago or so to the date when we were in Kansas. We learned what type of culture we wanted. We learned what type of company we wanted. We'd invested our life savings, having taken nothing out, all with the promise to build an opportunity that we would one day be proud of, that we would build a legacy with for our families. And as we started building, we got some momentum. We introduced the Vice Shake. We introduced Nero. The rising tide of the economy was amazing. I mean, people would buy anything that you were selling at the time. Housing was through the roof. Incomes were through the roof. Everybody was happy. And the guys at Blythe, Todd's family's company, called us up and said, we want to bring you into the family of companies, and we want to make you an offer you can't refuse. We want to make you guys millionaires and help give Visalus the necessary capital to steward that ship onto an international vision. And we said yes, and that day was 8/4/2008, and we were on top of the world. I mean, you think we're humble now? You should have seen us back then.
Except there was some bad news. Why am I the bad news guy tonight? I'm all the bad news. Anybody remember what happened shortly after August 2008?
Market crash.
Exactly. You can do it again. Go ahead, everyone grab your hand like this. And let me tell you what happened August 2008. First of all, our country went into a recession. Housing market, insurance, automotive, banking, pharmaceutical, pretty much everything was affected. And guess what else was? The direct selling industry was affected. In North America alone, the industry fell 40%. It fell from $60 billion a year to $38 billion a year in 12 months. And what it did is it proved that there was many companies that had broken models that would not work in tough times. Visalus, unfortunately, was one of those companies. It was a company that had a lead product that, though it worked extremely well, watch this. How many of you guys love the ViPack? Any ViPack users out there? Unfortunately, a 4-component anti-aging system for over $100 as your lead product is not an easy sell in the beginning of that down economy and as that roller coaster continued to go down. So our sales fell. And our sales fell by 50% in a year. And when the sales fell, guess what else fell? Incomes fell. And when incomes fell, guess what else happened? Leaders fell. And we found ourselves in a really unique situation. You might not be able to see these guys, but if you were a part of this company before we launched the Body by Vi Challenge, please stand up. If you were a part of this company before we started the Body by Vi Challenge, give these people an enormous round of applause. There's not many of them. There's a couple of them. There's like 9 of them, maybe 12. You know what I notice about most of those people? Is they're standing in the front as ambassadors. Because even though tough times fell on the economy, fell on our industry, fell on our company, and fell on our leaders, they saw it through. Because they believed in 3 guys that knew that they would figure out the problem no matter what.
You know, when you have the right people on the bus, you can always figure out where the bus is going to go. But you have to have the right people on the what?
Bus.
So we took the individuals you just saw stand up. We looked at each other in the mirror, had some serious conversations, and said, guys, our model is broken. We can sit here and wither away until everything we'd spent years building was completely gone. Or we can go back to the drawing board again and reinvent every single thing we had. So we locked ourselves away for about 6 months in our laboratory, blank whiteboard, and asked ourselves the critical question: how do we build a model? How do we build a business that's going to grow during this economy? How do we build a model that's going to resonate with this consumer? Let's throw out the rule book of everything that had ever worked in the past, because you know what? The rules had changed. And instead of going out there like a lot of our competition did and pretend like nothing ever happened, oh, just keep selling, or just keep promoting, oh, this doesn't affect us, oh no, this industry grows during a down economy. Instead of lying to ourselves, we said, let's dig in and let's see if we can build a model built for the new game, for the new rules. About 6 months into that, we launched our reinvention strategy. It was the July event 2009, and you guys know that reinvention strategy is the Body by Vi 90-day challenge.
Who's got a challenge out there? Get your challenge on.
Nick, isn't it weird that it seems like every time we think we're being knocked down, it ends up being the very thing that allows us to then bounce twice as high? Isn't that an interesting thing? Every time you get the challenge, the greater the challenge, the greater the what?
Reward.
Most people, though, when they get that challenge, guys, they break down. Some people, instead of breaking down, they break what?
Through.
They break through. And we took the individuals that believed in us, and there's not a whole lot of them standing in the room, and we went to work to prove the model that we believed in. 2009, moderate growth. 2010, me and Ryan are sitting there in the office, and all of a sudden we get an email come through from Nick Sarnacola that basically says, I quit. We're like, oh no, this is not going to be good.
Not a good meeting.
We read the Jerry Maguire manifesto from Nick to myself and Ryan, all about how he really wanted to go back in the field. He wanted to go out there, get off the coaching role, and get in the game. And not only was he going, but he was taking our VP of Sales, Mr. Mike Craig, with him. And so January 2010, Nick Sarnacola and Mike Craig signed up on an ESS for $4.99 from absolute scratch in 2010. You guys give them...